The Raiders lost. The Raiders got their ass kicked last night. 20-9 is the final score. I didn't see a lot that surprised me in this game, but I will tell you this. If you are a fantasy football owner, and I want to say this loudly because we do so much fantasy football here. If you are a fantasy football owner, you need to start panicking about Ashton Jeanty. All right, because the most staggering part of this, 11 carries, 43 yards, you see it there in a 20-9 loss, but it's time to panic because Ashton Jeanty went the wrong way on a handoff. He also missed a couple of blitz assignments that caused Geno Smith to get cremated. He gave up on one play and just stopped blocking the defender that then chased down Geno from behind. These were all bad looks. And what really hit me, Caroline, is that with about 4.5 minutes left when the Raiders went into a more tempo offense, Ashton wasn't on the field. Never saw the field again in the last several minutes. I think the Raiders told you right now that there's a lot he needs to work on other than just running the football before they trust him for 3 downs. And the problem is, when he is given the football, he's met behind the line of scrimmage half the time because the offensive line isn't good enough. So I came into this season saying Ashton Jeanty could be number 1 overall, RB1 in this fantasy season. I am eating a bunch of crow right now because the pieces around Ashton aren't good enough. Ashton isn't good enough. And the Raiders, who are 1-1 right now, right where I thought they would be. It's not an abject disaster, but the production of Ashton Jeanty through 2 weeks certainly is.
I'm shocked it was even 43 yards. Because before I looked at the box score, before I looked at the numbers, I thought it was going to be maybe half of that at most. Because it felt like every time I looked at Ashton Jeanty carrying the football, for the most part, he was tackled behind the line of scrimmage. Like he couldn't get anything going. And look, some of that is just defenses are going to say we are not going to let that guy beat us. If he is on the field, we will stack the box because we will not let Ashton Jeanty beat us. But I think the scariest position for the Raiders to be in is when defenses stop maybe paying as much attention to Ashton Jeanty and he still can't get a high level of production. So I'm with you. I think overall, the Raiders' running back needs to be better. And I would say that about the Chargers as well, because look, I will give so much credit if we want to move over to the Chargers side of things. And I know, Fitzy, that you were kind of licking your Raiders fans' wounds today, and I'm sorry. The Raiders are still in a good place. But if I want to switch over to the Chargers' perspective of things, I will give credit to Jim Harbaugh, who is a run it down your throats, play, hard and tough at the lines of scrimmage, old football guy, old school kind of football guy mentality. I think he looked at his team and the way that they're constructed with the quarterback that they have and with the receivers that they have supplemented that offense with. They said, well, we're better served if we air the football out. And it was so fun to watch this Chargers team do that. But the Chargers also need a run game to supplement what they have in the passing game. Because what we saw Justin Herbert was their leading rusher. And when you have a Marion Hampton and Najee Harris in that rushing core, you need to be better at running the football if the Chargers want to be a legitimate playoff, possibly even Super Bowl contender. You have to be better on the ground. I guess I'll ask you that question, Fitz. From what you saw last night, if you want to take your Raiders tinted glasses off, from what we've seen last night and what we've seen through two weeks, are the Chargers a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, that defense is good enough to win a Super Bowl. Justin Herbert, I thought, was absolutely great in that game. I tweeted out that it was a masterclass last night, and somebody clapped back and said 20 points isn't a masterclass. Well, the Chargers dropped a couple of passes where nobody was in there and could have easily had it. They also had just a stupid 4th down call late in the game that made absolutely no sense. It resulted in a turnover. Omari and Hampton dropped a football, and they were still in control through the duration of the entire game. Yeah, this is a team. You're right. They need to be more intentional, I think, about running the football because they certainly ran the football with purpose when they did. It just never felt like they wanted to commit to running the football. So that's a little curious to me as they find a little bit better balance and as they find a little bit better sort of control on what they're trying to execute offensively. Certainly. I don't think that they're right now in the same category as the Bills or the Ravens. But if I put those two teams in a different category in the AFC. I think the Chargers are the best of the rest. They're at the top of that next tier. They're better than the Chiefs right now. They're a little better than the Colts right now. So, yeah, I think they're capable of winning a Super Bowl.
The defense, I think, puts them in that position. The 4th down call, I didn't mind them going for it on 4th. Because I looked at it you're at midfield. Didn't mind them going for it at all. It made sense. Just because it didn't work doesn't mean it's a bad call. We need to hold ourselves accountable to that as sports fans. I thought the play call was dumb. A jet sweep toss, like just run it up the middle. You have one of the best offensive lines in the National Football League. I mean, Justin Herbert's only been sacked twice through 2 games. Like, just trust that they can create at least a little bit of a hole for you to just jumbo pack and shove your way up the middle to be able to get that first down. So I thought the play call was bad. Didn't mind them going for it. But outside of that game and what we saw in the box score, the X's and O's, so on and so forth, I think one of the biggest storylines that we came away from that game wasn't what happened on the field, but it was what happened in the booth. Tom Brady, we know, is a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. He was in the coach's booth with a headset on, but let's not forget that Tom Brady is also a broadcaster. That has to be, Fitz, a clear and obvious conflict of interest. Like we just see right there, that's a conflict of interest. That Tom Brady, as a broadcaster, is in meetings with coaches and players. He's getting inside, probably for the most part, confidential information. He is getting an inside peek at 31 other teams in the National Football League. He is getting information on these teams that no other minority owner in sports is getting. And then he's also in the coach's booth with a headset on. That seems wrong. That feels icky. And that is fishy to me. And I am shocked that the NFL is letting that happen, Tom Brady or not.
The NFL needs to step in right now and stop it. I mean, there should be a choice made at this point on what exactly your role is. One of the most surprising parts of the broadcast last night was the revelation that Chip Kelly flat out told the TV production team from ESPN that he talks to Tom Brady 2 or 3 times a week, that they talk about the game plan. They talk about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. So now you've got a minority team owner in the coaching box who is part of the conversations with the offensive coordinator repeatedly about what's going to happen. And you look at this, he talks to him 2 or 3 times a week, and he's also in crazy meetings. Look at this week coming up. This week coming up is a short week for the Raiders to go across the country and take on the Washington Commanders. That's a lofty assignment. Well, Brady's called a Commanders game. How much information does he have about what they're trying to run, how they're trying to run it? Part of what happens in these meetings is getting a sense not just of players, but of coaches, of what they're doing and what they're doing well, what they're willing to put on certain players, what they're not willing to put on certain players. It really helps the color and the analysts sit back and say, how do we tell the story of this game? You got to have as much information. So where we as fans might be surprised that one guy isn't getting the ball, the TV crew is rarely surprised because they find those things out during the meetings that they have. Well, now what you have is somebody that's getting that information and now is admittedly talking to coaches 2 or 3 times a week. How that isn't a conflict of interest, I can't understand. It really feels like genuinely what the Raiders did was they gave a minority ownership stake to Tom Brady, not to be an owner, but to be part GM, to be part team president, to be part coach, to have his hands in literally everything that they do. And if you're going to do that with an ownership stake attached to it, that's already controversial in some league circles. If you're going to do that while he's also making money from Fox to call games, that's giving him early insight into what the Bears are going to be doing a few weeks before the Bears and the Raiders play, shame on the NFL for letting that happen. This absolutely, transparency is key in a conspiracy theorist world. This makes the NFL look fixed. There's no 2 ways about it. It makes the NFL look like they're giving Brady and the Raiders an advantage.
How do you feel about that as a Raiders fan? Or maybe what is being said in the Raiders circles? Because feels to me a clear and obvious advantage. I think a lot of fans would love that kind of clear and obvious advantage for their football team. But it still makes you question the integrity, not just of that team, but of the entire league, if they're allowing these things to happen, in my opinion.
It just feels gross, and it feels like it creates a narrative that will take away from success when you have it. It won't be, oh, the Raiders won this game. It'll be, oh, well, Brady knew this was coming. And that's such a weird spot to be in. I mean, if you're the Raiders organizationally, you have paid Pete Carroll a boatload of money to come out of retirement. You have made Chip Kelly the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL. And you still need to run the game plan by Brady 3 times a week? Like this, all of this just feels very weird. And I hear every time the broadcast is like, well, why wouldn't you rely on him? You've got him. Why wouldn't you rely on him? Okay, I hear that. Then rely on him. Put him in an official role and make him part of the organization in that sense. But for Roger Goodell to allow him to sit in a meeting with coaches, I guess my other question is, why would any other coach be comfortable showing Brady literally anything? If you have the Raiders on the schedule that year, why would you let Tom Brady in your facility? And as this smartly was pointed out last night by some reporters, this also gives Brady the advantage to talk to assistant coaches early, to start to know, oh, this guy's got some real potential. He could be a great offensive coordinator. This guy's got real potential. He could come over to our staff.
Yeah.
It gives you the opportunity to just go in and tamper with literally everything. And now, even if we come in and say, well, were they tampering? Was this a rules violation? How the hell do we know? Where's the line between what's Brady's job and what's Brady's job? Because he's got two very different jobs. It doesn't, none of it makes sense to me, Caroline.
And that's the Raiders' perspective. And from the Fox perspective, you are paying Tom Brady handsomely for his services. So if you are a coach and you understand the position that Tom Brady is in, I think you very fairly point out that there's probably some information that they would not want to divulge to Tom Brady, knowing that he has direct access to Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll and the entire Raiders organization. So then that also kind of changes the way that we view a broadcast. Then the quality of the broadcast, the information that is being given to the broadcast booth is pulled back a little bit, so we as the viewers, the fans of the game, don't get as much of a 360-degree view of what's going on within that organization. And of course, an organization isn't going to divulge any information that they don't want to, whether it's Brady or not, whether it's any broadcaster out there. But still, I would have to think the sense of trust is compromised because these teams do not want to give the broadcaster Tom Brady and also the owner Tom Brady information that they don't have to. So all of a sudden, the experience as a viewer is compromised as well. And I'm sure Tom Brady can have a handshake agreement all he wants with the league, with Fox, with the Raiders, and say, I can keep both of my hats separate, all right? I'm a broadcaster. I can take that hat off, and then I can be an owner. A handshake agreement isn't good enough for me. Why would he do that? Why would he not give the team that he is a minority owner of any sort of tactical advantage that they can get?
And why not at this point, since Pandora's box has been opened? I mean, if I'm the Panthers, I'm calling Greg Olson. How much? Hey, let's give you 1% of the team. We're gonna give you 1% of the team. If I'm the Cowboys, calling Troy Aikman, hey, we'll give you 1% of the team.
Yeah.
You start going up and down the list. If one team is going to be allowed to do this, then just start letting everybody that ever played. Like if I'm the Broncos, I'm calling Schlereth and saying, hey, all right, we'll give you 1% of the team. Whatever it takes to get the knowledge that you're getting in advance would absolutely do. The NFL needs to step in and do something.